Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to one more interesting discussion of interview questions. Today's topic is hardware asset management. So let's start with the very first question. Why is hardware asset management more than just an inventory list? Good question. So when we talk about hardware asset management, we are not just making a big Excel list, okay, of laptop or servers. We are managing the full story of each device there from the moment we plan to buy it until the day we destroy it. Okay. So that means we track who owns it, where it is right now, how much it costs, when the warranty ends, and how often it breaks. So with this full story, we can make smart choices such as reuse the old devices, avoid buying too many devices, and finally get better deals from the vendors. Okay, so hardware asset management is really about control and decisions, not only counting the boxes in a room that we generally do in inventory. So that's why it is not an inventory, it is something bigger. Okay, next question. How do HAM and CMDB work together in real life? So though these are different, but you can think of hardware asset management and CMDB as two different views of the same device. Because in HAM, we care about money and ownership. That is who paid for this laptop, who has it, and when we should replace it. Whereas in case of CMDB, we care more about services. That is which applications run on this server and what breaks if this particular CI goes down. Okay. So in real projects, we link the asset record to CI so we can answer both the question at one time. And if we are able to do that well, we get a complete picture. That is the business view plus the technical view all together in one place. This is the main advantage. Okay. So I hope you get it. Let's move to the third question. What real problems does HAM Pro solve compared to the normal hardware asset management? Okay. So, in many companies, model names and assets are very messy, and you can compare in your company as well. Okay. The same laptop can appear with 5 different spellings. And because of that, the reports are confusing and very hard to trust. So normal ham can track assets, but it does not fix that messy data by itself. Whereas in case of ham pro, it brings content services, normalization, and ready-made life cycles so that the data become clean and consistent. So we can say that Ham Pro is most useful when environment is very big and complex and where the manual cleanup simply would not scale. Okay, so that's why we are using Ham Pro. But in normal short organization, Ham is fine where we have comparatively very less data, but yet we have to manage. Let's move to the fourth question. Why do interviews focus so much on hardware models and model categories? Okay, so here we are talking with respect to interviews. So hardware models and model categories are like engines, okay, under HAM. If this data is dirty, every report, dashboard, and decision become unreliable, okay? But with good models and categories, we can derive catalog items. We can have good approvals, refreshing rules, and even cost logic as well. So that's why in interviews, when we explain model and model categories extremely well, clearly, we show that we understand how ham really work inside. So that's why we see so much tough questions with respect to these category and models. Okay, because it provides powerful foundation, and that's what they want to, judge. They want to hear. Next question is, how does strong reclamation process saves real money? That's good question. So, in that case, every time an employee leaves or changes the role, we risk losing a hidden laptop or a monitor, right? So that's why if we do not have a proper reclamation flow, these devices stay in the drawer and home offices and maybe slowly it get disappears. So that is why a strong ham process creates tasks, shipping labels, and clear responsibility to bring the device back. This is important. If you are not here, then you have to bring all the devices back. And how do we get that? How do we ensure that? Because of this reclamation process, which is very important. Okay. So after we get it, we then inspect it, clean it, and redeploy it to someone else instead of buying a brand new one. And you will not believe that over a year, this simple loop can save thousands of dollars. to the company as well as thousands of devices, which means a lot of money, right? Because it may be possible a person who joined 6 months back now leaving the company. So the device is only 6 months old, right? Whereas its warranty is for 3 years. So that's why if we do not have a proper reclamation process, it will get lost and we lost the device. So that's why it is important and it is saving a lot of money. I hope you get it now. Number 6, why is the integration with ERP and procurement system is so critical for hardware asset management? Obviously, integrations are important and if it is implemented properly. So if ERP and ServiceNow are not connected, we end up with only two different truths about the same hardware. Okay. And in that, finance say one number, IT says another, and nobody fully trusts the data. This happens if there is no true integration. So when we integrate, purchase orders and receiving events flow into HM automatically. Okay, so that means one purchase create the right asset with the right cost, vendor and location detail. So integration turns hardware asset management into a single source of truth instead of just another disconnected system. So that's why this integration is so much critical if you really want to follow the rules. Number 7, what does go wrong when we ignore location and stock rooms in design? Okay, great. So this is interesting because if we ignore proper location and stock rooms, asset will seems to live everywhere and at the same time nowhere. Okay, so this is the confusion here. We will see device marked in stock but have no idea which building or room they are actually in. That's why it leads to wasting of time and efforts. Technicians waste the time in searching and audit fails because record does not match reality on the floor. Okay, so by designing clear stockroom and location hierarchy, we are making sure that every move is traceable and findable for a particular asset. So that's why we see many real ham problems come from a bad location and stockroom design, not from the complex coding. Let's move to the next question. Question number 8. How can hardware asset management data actually help security teams? Okay, so, security teams want to know which device exists, who is using them, and what is the location, whether it is secure or not, right? So Ham can answer first two questions very well. That is, if we keep ownership and location data clean, we have this information with us. So that is why when we connect hardware asset management with tools like endpoint security or vulnerability scanners, we see where is the gap actually is. Okay. So for example, we can say like we can find laptop that exist in hardware asset management, but are missing antivirus and encryption or patches. So that's why hardware asset management becomes a map for the security, showing which doors might still be open in our environment for attackers. Okay. So now let's move to the 9th question. Why do many hardware asset management implementation fails or stall? So here you have to answer very carefully because they want the real issues there. So many ham project fails because people think it is just a technical switch to turn on. So they think they just enable the plugin and add a field there and expect everything to work magically. But in reality, hardware asset management is mostly about the process and people. Who does what, when, and using which workflow. Okay, these all things has to answer there. So that is why if we skip training, ownership, or proper integration, the user anyhow will move to the spreadsheet and emails. And this is a bad thing, and we can consider that this is a failure to this project. Okay, so we can say that hardware asset management usually fails when we underestimate the process and governance side of it, not the technology side. Technology wise, it is already implemented, but not on the scales of process and governance. So that's what we have to understand here. Now move to the 10th question. How should we explain hardware asset management value to CFO or non-IT leaders? So being a hardware asset management analyst or developer, you may get such opportunities where you have to explain these things, explain these important things to leaders, to non-technical leaders, so that they understand and they may take decisions or take you seriously, basically. So here we have to understand that CFO does not care about CI tables. They only care about money and the risk. Okay. So we can show them how HAM reduce new purchases by reusing and reclaiming the existing hardware. We also can show better audit results, fewer surprises, and more predictable refresh budgets. It's not always about reports and dashboards. If we translate our dashboard into a simple numbers like laptop saved or cost avoided, okay, they will literally understand and they might be more interested in what you are demoing. Okay, so our job here is to turn hardware asset management from technical topic into a clear business story that they can understand easily, and then they may suggest some more thing and they may take it forward. Okay, so this is how we have to explain, and what we have to explain I told you. So this is it for this video, ladies and gentlemen. We have few more questions that I will discuss in next video, 11 to 20. I hope you are getting good value from it. I'm trying my best to explain things in a very, very simple manner. So please connect the dots, think about it, and make a picture in your mind. This is the only way to understand it. Do not go in detail technically, but first understand and frame it in your mind and then start connecting. Okay. Thank you so much. Subscribe and share.